How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the weekly Old School Developer Q&A. And this week we've got a lot of people here, as you can see. And we've got our new artist, Gareth, known as Mod Ghost. So we're going to be introducing him a bit during the stream. And oh yeah, we've got Mod Jack Mob joining us as well.
For absolutely no reason.
So should we get on with it? Introduce Gareth or straight into it?
Let's do the questions.
Straight into it. So question for the new artist. It is of the utmost importance. Does he like cabbage?
I do actually love cabbage. When I go to the local Sunday restaurant in my hometown, I actually ask for no potatoes and extra cabbage. That's genuine.
Wow.
So you actually had a response to that question?
Yeah, I did, yeah, it's true.
Okay, and that was from Lost Mail.
People think we sort of pre-prepared this. It's supposed to be like a genuine
cabbage,
answer.
I love cabbage.
We're not even streaming, this was recorded 3 hours ago.
Right, who's ready to go for lunch?
We're Nando's.
Oh yeah.
What is happening at RuneFest this year for Old School?
Oh, okay.
Us.
Yes, us pretty much. What have we got? We got 11 o'clock on the date. We're going to be doing a presentation that I'm terrified about. I don't know about you guys, but
I'm alright.
yeah,
Seems fine.
Yeah, stand in front of 1,000 people talking. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, if only you'd have some practice, like streaming to 5,000 or 6,000.
Yes, I know. It's odd, isn't it? You know, we sit here and we talk to how many thousands of people on stream, but just you're in a room in front of people looking at you, and it's a lot more different. So anyway, yeah. So we've got a big talk about all sorts of new stuff that we'll be doing. Lots of stuff you haven't seen. More information about the new continent. Got some wonderful artwork that Gareth has been working on as well. So that's fantastic. We've got Meet the Maker session, which Ash, you're in, Dan, John and Ronan are all doing as well. We're going to be on the main stage for the big questions. We've got Court Beast you're going to be able to play with before it comes out. We've got competition for a Golden Gnome as well, so you'll be able to solo the Court Beast, and the person who does the most damage will win a Golden Gnome.
No, don't bother, I'm winning that one.
What else? There's merchandise there, old school merchandise. First chance to buy some of that. Covers all of it, isn't it? We're going to be there. You can play old school and generally chat merrily. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Not much then.
No.
Usual day.
Yeah,
Usual day.
we'll be finished by about 2.
No day where you get up at 6:30 as usual.
Which 2?
Yes, yeah, I think 2 in the morning might be when we finally get home.
Aaron Saber 6 asks, for the Corp Challenge at RuneFest, do we use our own accounts or a Jmod one?
We'll have accounts set up.
There's going to be. I've just tweeted a picture actually of what you can expect, but we're going to set up a bunch of test accounts with max stats because there's no reason not to have max stats. And there's an NPC inside the Corp cave who provides you with all the gear you need to do Corp, so you can pick and choose what you want. And it'll clear your invent, give you all the gear. There's no cost. They're test accounts. They're not Jmods. They're not going to have Jmod abilities, but they are going to be able to kill the Corp with any gear you like.
RS Jim Bobs asks, is it possible for Mod Reach to do some more live streams like the one he did ages ago when we went to Castle Wars and Fight Pits?
I guess. I mean, Ronan usually does the weekly live stream for community stuff, but if more of us were wanted or expected to do it, I'm sure we could.
The last time you did a Castle Wars event, how many people did you get going in there?
We maxed out the server.
You maxed out the server. I didn't even get 1,000 viewers. So
I maxed out the server, then we went to Fight Pits where I think it started with something like 600 people ready. So that was the most I've ever seen in Fight Pits, but Castle Wars was absolutely hectic. It was loading the map square or the area with players the most it could, and each time I moved around it lagged because that many people were following me and trying to beat the living daylights out of me. But yeah, I could do. I guess any one of us could do really.
Kill Mod Reach stream, I think that works.
I'm cool with that.
Well, we had something in mind for Christmas.
Not the Mod Reach Opens series.
No. I think I'm not entirely sure if we've come to the end of that.
Pretty much.
yeah.
We might have done, yeah.
But no, we can certainly look at doing more community streams with more of us involved if people want that.
Astrophyte asks, could you add a world map to the client so it doesn't open up in a web page?
It was a fairly big engine job when they last did it in 2008 or thereabouts, and it wasn't very well received then. It gradually got better with more features added to it, but it's still rather a large lift, I think.
The code for it's in the map editor, so it's not the biggest job to do, but it would initially be more like it used to be before the recent refactor, just a few months ago.
Yeah, we don't need it interactive.
Well then, do we really?
Yeah, I was going to say an interactive one. If we can do it, might as well do it properly.
Yeah.
If it's not interactive, it may as well be in a web page.
It's a couple of days' work. I mean, it would have to be prioritised over other exciting things. But
Tom,
it's possible.
Tom Wilson asks, can you start adding more and more toggle slash on slash off options in the future. This makes everybody happy.
Just on random things. Toggle trees to green, toggle tees to red.
I had somebody asking the other day for an option for when I light a fire, I will move north by default rather than west by default. We could offer an option for that, but we haven't yet.
Yes.
We usually add toggles to most things because some people don't like change, some people do like change. The easiest way to get around that is to give you a toggle so people who do want change can have it and people who don't need to use it. I guess it depends on what you want a toggle for and what option we're offering at the time.
If a toggle would make the job a lot harder because we'd have to support 2 different versions of something, then sometimes we'd hope that people will just accept the change if it's going to get more than 75% support in it all by itself. But we will happily try and do toggles where people really do need the option.
There's somewhat limited space in interfaces though for toggles.
The toggle interface.
We moved to an options menu that's got separate tabs these days, and each one could have its own scroll bar if we need infinite toggles.
You just have the menus for your toggle.
Togglescape.
Yeah.
And you can toggle them off.
You can have a coat, okay, and you can have little toggles that tie it together. Just to get even more toggles.
Hashtag dad jokes. Just dad jokes all the time.
Bad dad jokes.
Bad dad jokes.
Absolutely. Who saw the gnome puns earlier on Twitter? That was quite entertaining. I think we
by
upset Ronan with that.
Just a bit. Osti OSRS asks, can we have the ability to cancel easy tasks, banshees, etc. from a Slayer Master? To cancel an easy task, it will cost 200 to 250k.
You've got Slayer points for that.
There is that. I think the player in question had got the Banshee task on a 10 hit point pure and discovered that he couldn't get rid of it again, and it's quite hard to recoil the things. I think another player was going to go and help him by doing most of the damage if possible, but all the same, it was kind of awkward for him that he couldn't get a shot at the task in any of the ways we've got so far.
How good a 10 hit? He must have done Priest in Peril.
Yeah, he had.
Good luck slaying with 10 HP with Priest in Peril then.
Yes, a lot of pures apparently just don't do Priest in Peril so as to avoid all those Slayer tasks. Of course, we could take the Priest in Peril requirement off some of the things that we've added to Neve's Cave.
Yeah, I put that on the wish list a couple of days ago.
Skiller Roger asked, are you guys going to do anything with the Divine Shield or leave it out for release? And will you poll Corp Tele locations?
I think with the Divine's concerned, we'll at least let Corp go out and see how it goes before we start talking about it again. And if there is a huge call for a rework, then we'll work with the community to get that done. And I think you've been working on a teleport.
The teleport, we're not going to poll. I'm going to put the teleport inside the cave as per norm, as it was originally at least. It's going to go on the games necklace again, unless somebody has a better alternative. I think Ronan saw a suggestion or came up with one about putting it on the... what was the bracelet called again?
Regen bracelet.
Regen bracelet, that's the one. We could put it on there, because we're not putting the regen bracelet on the Corp drop table, just so we can keep its value.
Because you've got to pay 4 mil just to be able to get to Corp.
Yeah, well, I'll
then
give it, but the teleport will be inside the cave, so we'll keep it relatively safe.
And still, then you've got to risk it, because you're more likely to die at Corp at some point.
Yes, so not regen bracelet, sorry, games necklace and inside the cave is where it's going to be. And John's correct with the Divine Shield.
So the cave itself, is that still in the wilderness?
That's still in the wilderness. So for those of you that run out of, or you've died with your last one, the only option is to run, like it was originally.
Lee Yates 94 asks, what is the most common argument in the Old School RuneScape office?
Is this a bowl?
No, we know the answer.
No,
to
we
that.
don't
It's
have
not
one.
an argument.
You're
is it?
Ronan's like agrees with that.
We have a lot.
It's usually, are we allowed to do this?
Yeah. Can we put a bucket on the Corp drop list as an argument we have?
So we've had that quite a few times. In fact, we had like 2 events of that today. Are we allowed to do this? Are we taking the biscuit with this really? Are we?
I may have suggested that we replace the slot on the Divine, so the slot on the Corpse table where the Divine was with a bucket, rather than refactoring all the numbers to keep the drop rates the same. But
We've had Dragon Claws arguments.
Yeah, we've had quite a few. Can we actually do this sort of arguments?
Should
I
Lindsay
think-
Sterling stand still?
Yes. Ronan.
She should.
Ronan.
She plays violin. She doesn't
Oh,
dance.
Captain Boring over here. Just doesn't like any sort of action.
can I push him off the sofa?
I don't know.
Yes. Don't tempt me.
RS Gores asks, will it ever be possible to play both Old School and RS3 at the same time using the same account?
No, not really. It's just the way profiles work. It would require a huge infrastructure rework.
Yeah, basically everything that both games are based on would need reworking. So,
RS Kayla asks, now that Alfred is gone, can we vote on which Old School RuneScape employee will now be taking on the eating challenges?
No, it's you.
Well, we can unanimously decide who it's going to be, and I would vote Ronan.
Well, I'll have to go with that 18-inch sausage that he had down the pub. That looked quite nice.
Until
that leaves
Mod
open
Wolf
so many
decides to tweet a not
inappropriate
very
comments,
flattering
doesn't
picture
it?
of you eating it.
Mustard.
Non-violence asks, why is there a rule of only allowing to buy imbues from the Nightmare Zone shop for Ironman mode? We never voted for that in any poll.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that we got a lot of feedback on that when we were looking at Ironman. And a lot of the feedback was Ironman accounts shouldn't be allowed to sit in Nightmare Zone all day and then just use the points to get all these resources. So we decided not to do that. We should have put it on in the dev blog, we didn't, but I think it's the right thing to do. So a lot of other people think the same thing, so we'll keep going with that still.
Jordan, with a bunch of numbers that I'm not going to read, asks, will there ever be an activity bar added to Nightmare Zone?
That probably would solve a lot of the AFKing, although I don't think we've ever discussed putting an activity bar there. It wouldn't be off the cards.
It can be done if you want one.
I think
It would solve a lot of the AFKing problems. And
Is it really a problem though?
well, the last time we polled it on stream, it got, what, 68% of people were right with it.
there's a sort of concern that AFKing is a problem, but that would solve part of the problem at least.
I'm up for that.
I think to get around that, you'd probably have to bot and then you'd get banned, so there's probably not really much a way around it.
I mean, there's a balance, isn't there? I mean, there's a difference between going to sleep and
Yes.
watching a bit of a movie and then looking back, isn't
Yeah.
there? You know, and I think it's obvious where we should really be going, but with that.
We would need some way of actually detecting the difference between the player auto-retaliating and the player clicking. The game handles quite a lot of that stuff in so much the same way that we have trouble distinguishing, but we could certainly have a go, or find some solution.
New Armadale crossbow special, please.
Alfred made one before he left. We just got to find it because he wasn't great at leaving things in the same place. But yeah, we got to find it and we can poll that. I think he did a new model for the bow as well.
I think it's in the Test Alfred stream. I found it in the request stream where we develop actual game content, and I kind of moved it over earlier today so that we know where to look for it next time.
Good old Alfie.
Tisu asks, any chance we could get a tour of the Old School offices? It would be great to see where the magic happens.
That's what I meant to do.
Really?
I meant to take a photo of where we were and then get these guys to show it up when you came to that question, but I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's just one office. It's the entire Jagex castle.
We don't really have so much of an office. We have an area.
Yeah.
Inside a tank.
We've customised our area quite heavily with turning all the lights off and putting artwork on the wall and drawing pictures of Ronan on the whiteboard.
Mm.
Yeah, he Snapchatted that.
Really? Awesome. Okay, so yeah, we don't really have so much of an area. But
There's no reason why we can't get a video camera up there and make a little video.
yeah, sure.
See why not?
And,
Something that James and Simon can do, I'm
And
sure.
a little message just came up saying we can do a small video for the Old School channel, says
Cool.
James.
There we go. There we are. Job done. Great minds and all that, James.
Less dad jokes anyway.
Less dad jokes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Andrew0896 asks, can you make it so on the minimap your friends always appear over everyone else? That way it's easier to find them in crowded places like Baroque West.
So the green dot always appears on top if there's someone in that pile.
I expect that could be done.
That's
By the engine
It's
team.
an engine thing. It's fairly trivial.
Sickman112 asks, shard loot sharing system.
it can be done.
Shard loot sharing is almost identical to normal loot share anyway. We're just not giving out coins. The only problem is to sort of decide how many shards we give you, and if once we've decided that, we might as well have given you the coins. Really, that's the problem we have with shard loot sharing.
Yeah, it's also identifying how much an item's worth, really, has always been the big problem, isn't it? Which has to be done through alc value, doesn't it, at the moment?
That's the best we've got.
With the shard system, would you not be able to just give an evenly split number of shards to everyone and then have them determine their own price?
No number splits perfectly into every number.
Yeah.
Close enough.
The person who does the most damage gets the difference. I don't know.
Well, in the recent engine update, we got the ability to see how much damage each player has done to the monster, or at least, yeah, I think we can actually see how much damage is done by each player to the monster, and we could use that to divvy up whatever we liked in equal shares. I think could come in handy.
The main problem we have is because we don't have a grand exchange feature, we don't have sort of a global system to track the price of each item. Obviously, we have trading websites which do that for us, but we can't tap into that and we can't say this item is worth this amount because this website says so. So we can give you shards, we can give you any item, we just don't know how many shards to give you because we don't know how much the item is worth. That's the biggest problem we have. There's nothing, that's the only thing holding us back really from doing an effective loot share system.
And to also put into perspective, how much does an Armadale Godsword out for?
750,000.
Yeah, so 750,000 if an Armadale Godsword drops. Yeah, not great.
DCLR Pink asks, is there any chance of granite scimitars / two-handers and longswords being introduced due to only having 150 attack weapon?
Yeah, again, if you really want them, we can do them. They're easy enough to implement.
You know the big trolls up on Death Plateau? At least one of them's got a humongous stone scimitar type thing,
Slash
which looks
I think.
awesome. I would like to see that
More
kind of
stone
thing.
weapons, yeah.
It's not a bad shout.
Yeah. Granite swords.
Gargoyle
Granite
Boss.
arrows.
Granite arrows.
Yeah.
Gargoyle Boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was actually a question about Solovos. Any plans for that?
Yeah, actually, we on our offsite, 3 weeks ago, something like that. We went out for the day and talked about the future. Yeah, we Solovos did quite well on the priority poll, starting again, and we've sort of earmarked it for early next year to be released, and it will be a tough solo boss that will hopefully drop awesome things decided by you lot. And I'd like to run a competition to name it as well. It's going to be a snake.
I can't think where the idea of doing it as a big snake might have come from.
Yes.
Although I might change it to a rat.
Do a snake. I want to do the snake. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, we've got a great concept in
snake.
mind. Because snakes are awesome and scary, and they can have loads of different attacks like spraying acid and throwing eggs and snapping.
Throwing eggs.
Oh, you know what I mean? And slapping you around the face with their tail. And
Well, if it's
Have
a serpent,
chickens
then it
too.
can have little arms, can't it?
But yeah, I suppose large snake things isn't sort of a thing that we've done in RuneScape, is it? We've got a couple of little ones flying around, but that's about it. We don't have that sort of reptilian type of
There's some
thing going on.
pretty big snakes in temple tracking, although they move a bit strangely, and we had something a little bit bigger in mind for this.
yeah, I'd see this as being some like QBD-esque kind of thing, where it'd be instanced, it's huge, and so you can only solo it, and it's a nice sort of solid amount of money that you can make over time, but also has some really nice big signature drops as well.
Could be a QBC. Queen Boa Constrictor.
Hashtag dad joke.
JJ Aussie asks, any possibility that dark beasts can be made to path through each other? They get stuck on one another all the time.
Yeah, that can be done, although they would probably end up just standing on top of each other clumped, which is what you usually get when we do this.
Ooh, but then your cannon would be less effective.
There's merit there, there's not merit there.
Got to think about the XP.
Someone's going to want to toggle on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a toggle one.
The Man Among Men asks, with Bounty Hunter in full swing, I think you should work on a proper solution for untradables in PvP. It kind of ruins the concept of risking it for reward when people can go back to their death spot and loot half their gear.
Untradables over level 20 wilderness turn into a pile of cash, and not a particularly big one either, but it means that you are risking it. That level 20 was fairly arbitrary. We could have chosen something else.
But whatever we do would have to be polled, and whenever he sort of mentioned it before, just straight up having untradables lost on death, it's never really gone down too well.
Yeah. If we went to some kind of insurance system, maybe, where you, so that you always have to pay to get them back again, so you're losing quite a lot of money, but it's not the same as having to go to play pest control for many, many hours to get the thing back again. Maybe we could do it that way.
Yeah, I think we discussed that last week, didn't we, on the stream?
I really should have been watching.
Yes, yeah. I think, the idea was that somebody insures their gear, pays however many thousands of GP to insure it, so when they die they get it back, but that GP they pay to insure it drops to the person who kills them. So both people win, really.
Yeah,
Keep items and the other person gets stuff from it.
If that sounds like a better solution, then
I've seen a fair few people suggest something almost exactly like that. So
Marvellous.
Almost exactly like that.
almost exactly, yeah.
So will we have another insurance shop, a bit like Probitus Pet Insurance thing in Ardougne?
You say that the player kills will get the money, like most insurance companies, they'd have to take like a 97% cut.
You have to go through 30 hours of dialogue before you can get there.
Yes. It'll just drop a note on the floor saying fill in this form and send it back to us.
And not give you the address.
And then when you do send it back to them, they don't actually respond.
You get loaded with PPI claims, you have to phone up, you get telemarketers call you all the time.
Doesn't sound like so much of a good update at this point.
Well, we could always do it differently.
Well, at least
We might-
this way it's not going to
RuneScape
be
magic,
a
isn't it? It's
money-making
just insurance
method.
company will work.
Yeah,
True.
it's a fantasy game.
I don't fantasise about insurance very often, mate.
The Barking asks, have you guys ever played any role-playing games in the past? And if so, do you draw inspiration from them? For instance, their concept, design, lore and gameplay, for instance. And are you excited to implement potentially some of these ideas into the new continent?
Did that come in on Twitter then?
I'm not sure where that came from, actually.
Be amazing if they managed to get that on Twitter.
It was a massive question. I've even left a little bit off on the end there because it's not particularly relevant, but...
I haven't played very many, if any, at all besides RuneScape, to be honest. RuneScape has always been my biggest PC game. I'm not a PC gamer, I'm a console gamer, but even then I've taken some ideas from console games that I've played and put them into Old School, or tried to design content around some of the things I've done on Old School, or done on other games, sorry. But I haven't personally played very many role-playing games. I know Matt plays an awful lot.
Yeah, I played loads. I can't remember the name of the first. I'm trying to remember the first role-playing game I ever played. In fact, the first role-playing game I ever played when I was sort of 10 years old, I got into Warhammer, and I played that for years and years and years and years and years. So that was even before TV and computers and that sort of thing. And then there's I can't remember what the first computer RPG was. No, I can't remember. But at the moment, I'm playing Lord of the Rings Online, which I probably shouldn't say, but I am, because I just love the whole Lord of the Rings world type place. Fallout, obviously a brilliant RPG game as well.
I guess you could include...
Thief, I've just started playing the new Thief
Oh,
as well,
that-
but that crashes my computer because
too bad.
it's far too high level for my computer. Loads and loads, and yeah, I steal ideas all the time. Yeah,
I'm very, 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 very heavily into Destiny at the moment, so
Why?
that's technically an...
It has no content.
It's got
does
plenty of content.
Destiny know about this?
I don't know yet, but some of the ideas
So,
from the
in
content
order to
I've been
profit from the product placement, you have to have organised it in advance, like Matt clearly did.
yeah, but yeah, no, I'd take inspiration. Well, for the new continent at least, there is some sort of ideas there that I've taken from other games, and sort of games I've enjoyed over the years and everything else.
But you count the Titan Brawl all by yourself.
No, that was completely me. That was total originality. But
Well, I suppose, when it boils down to it, the biggest sort of, I suppose, inspiration comes from what we read from you guys every day. That that's where it all comes from, really.
Yeah, in one way or another, whether we're taking the exact idea or just tweaking it slightly. Or
Yeah, exactly. But you sort of create the core, and the other sort of experiences we've had with other games is what goes and makes things a little bit different as well. And I'm not ashamed to take good ideas from other games and try them out, because they're good ideas, effectively.
yeah, we have 180,000 designers. So
Yeah.
I do remember seeing on one of Dan's drawings of the continent, just a town labelled King's Landing.
I think it's a King's Landing-esque.
Close enough.
I don't even watch Game of Thrones, and now I get a lot of hate for it. But
You don't watch...
no, I don't.
I think to a certain extent, though, you have to sort of start off with borrowing concepts, and then you sort of like build on them and develop them over time, don't you? Until they actually become like a new creation, like something you've actually put your own imprint on.
Well, to take people away from what they're very, very used to and what is already very successful is very, very difficult. The only thing you can really do is build upon that success.
Sure.
To guarantee further success, really, and that's kind of what we like to do. Obviously, we do have our own original ideas, and we do try our best to come up with things that are really original, as opposed to being seen copying everything all the time. But a lot of the games industry does that because it's the most effective way to really engage your current user base. They've all experienced things like that. They all play other games like that. So in order to grab their attention, to do something similar like that and put your own little twist on it is very, very good.
OSRS Drew asks, what does the Sigil Table look like without Divine?
That's been a sore point today.
Yeah, it's 3 instead of 4, basically.
bucket.
An empty spot, basically. So you'd get nothing instead of Divine.
So there's just 3 lines there in the drop table instead of 4. That's no real difference. We've talked about what the 4th one could be if we were to replace it, and
Jar of Dirt.
we've had a few suggestions come through so far, mainly from John, which...
Well, who was it that suggested the bowl?
One of you. I think in placement of what you said, someone said, how about a bowl instead of a bucket?
Yeah, I'm up for that. Was it Ollie?
I
it was,
might have
yeah.
been
I think
Ollie.
it was Ollie, yeah.
How about a golden bucket?
Didn't someone say a bowl? Didn't someone say a bucket of jars of dirt? Just
Was
to
it a
really
jar
rub
of
it in.
bucket?
Jar
A
of
jar of
bucket.
buckets, that was Ollie.
That was...
A jar of buckets.
I think we were potentially thinking of putting the Dark Core pet there.
Yeah, would make sense.
Because
No, but the pets,
Listen.
pets can't replace drops. That doesn't work. Well, they can, but typically they don't.
Dark Core is slightly different, and it's supposed to have a high rarity anyway in the thousands, so it should match the Divine, really. We'll see.
The Divine ones. Sorry, I'm just maths in my head.
The last question that I've got written down, I Want to Be You asks, what made you guys go for the updated Sigil Shield graphics as opposed to when they first came out and were much lighter?
I actually tweeted this earlier today. I offered the light versions or the slightly greyer versions, and I think one of the responses I got back was not the dim versions. It looks like it's been stuck in a room where people have been smoking for the past 20 years. Was the best way I've seen it described so far. I only chose the light version because you chose a light version. I put it on Twitter today, and there was an overwhelming amount of people who said, light please, we want the light ones. I didn't see anybody who really said, I want the dim versions. There were some people that said, I'd like it because that was the original Corp, but when we have both versions, I might as well ask, and all of you unanimously said, the light versions please. They do look better, they're a bit more vibrant. The dark versions, again, they're very, very dim. You can't really see them very well in game, and the inmate models look horrible, so the light version was the way to go.
Cool. Should perhaps we show them a bit of Iron Man?
Yeah.
Iron Man. Thing to do.
Who's going to introduce that?
Alright, hello. So this is the first time you'll ever see Iron Man in the game, as if you complete the tutorial islands. It's right towards the end, and you'll find two people that you might recognise, probably the most famous Iron Men there are. If you talk to them, they will explain to you what being an Iron Man is. Excuse me. It's last week's flu coming back. And yeah, they'll explain to you what an Iron Man is, and we'll give you the opportunity, I'm just going to spam click through it, to change your Iron Man mode, which will open a very shiny interface written by Ash. You can just be a standard Iron Man or an ultimate Iron Man, as described in the dev blogs. I think the chat's just recognised who one of them is. And as soon as you do that, you can choose to make it permanent, which means you can never remove your restrictions, or you can choose to have it as a temporary thing where you can downgrade your Iron Man status and become a normal account. But you must pin protect this. And I'm not going to do this now. Actually, I will, because Ash did some nice changes to the pin interface. Makes it nice and quick. Let's go 1, 5, 4, 3. What's 5? 4. Narrow bank pin, but yes, it's much smoother to enter pins now, thanks to Ash. And that's it. We're officially a standard Iron Man. And the only time you can change this is, the only time you can set this, sorry, is on Tutorial Island. But if you are an Ultimate Iron Man, you do have the opportunity to downgrade to a Standard Iron Man once you've made it to the mainland. So let's go finish the tutorial. Woo! Right, and you'll also find Adam and Paul here, and you can talk to them to downgrade your status or get the official Iron Man armor set, which was created by Gareth here.
Indeed.
And as we're an Iron Man, we'll ask that one. And oh, that didn't pack. No, oh well. It's still a little bit work in progress, so don't worry if you see any little stretches or bugs or anything, but I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure. I suppose with the graphics on this, it's pretty much I had iron to work with as the general colour. I didn't really want to go for any red on the outfit because some people might not like red and they'd have to like recolour it possibly. I don't really fancy the idea of that. It just had to be monochromatic. So mainly visually here what I had to go for was shape and form as opposed to actually changing the colour of any of the polys. So if you can see on the ultimate outfit just here, we've got more sort of like spiky ridges that go down and also spiky shoulder blades, and also a little bit more of that on like the standard Iron Man outfit, but it's kind of a little bit softer and not quite so detailed. So people that are actually coming in as an Ultimate Iron Man kind of feel like they're getting a much kind of like more souped up, heavy sort of hench outfit. We haven't got the helm here at the moment, have we?
For Ultimate, you won't be able to equip it.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. John just needs to sort that out. Faster, John. Come on, faster.
You get a nice little chat icon, which is just placeholder at the minute.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's worthwhile mentioning. That chat icon doesn't appear when you speak. It's only there so that if you are streaming an Iron Man account, that somebody watching your stream will see straight away that it's an Iron Man account.
There you go.
Okay, cool. So if we just equip the helm just here, you can see this is the ultimate helm just here. So we've got some sort of very sort of dark iron coloured stripes going around just to kind of differentiate you clearly from other Iron Men that are sort of like just your regular Iron Men, not the ultimates. Also the sickle, or not sickle, it's more for like the blade off a reaping scythe that you've got as your sort of like plume on your helmet. That'll be a darker black colour, and the blade will look slightly sort of more sharpened and edgy at the top to that. And it'll also be a lot larger as well. You've also got some spiky tusks at the front here, where the mask is, and you can also see the mouthpiece stands out a bit more, so it just kind of looks a bit more interesting, I suppose. So you kind of like get a little bit of a reward for the sacrifices you make as an Ultimate Iron Man. Yeah.
And if you just want to see the rest of the set.
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
Cool, you can see, yeah, we've got, you know, slightly more sort of spikiness, as I say, and also you've got like an extra plate of armour down there. Just lots of tiny little things, I suppose. It'd seem kind of trivial to mention them all individually, but overall the armour just looks much more, I don't know, much more intense and powerful.
As for the stats on it, it's at the minute it's exactly the same as an iron outfit. I'll see if you can make the correlation yourselves. Yeah, that's pretty much the ultimate set. We didn't actually equip the standard set, did we?
Just complaining about the weight. They say it's 37 kilograms.
I do have an invent full of stuff, which may or may not weigh anything, but yeah, the weight is it's all subject to change.
I think we haven't put the stats on either. That's just whatever was copied from the previous version.
Yeah, probably makes sense. That's if you wouldn't have heard that. Yeah, the weight is only 22 kilos, but again, and the stats probably aren't accurate yet. This has just been. Well, we were still working on it 10 minutes before the stream.
It was me that actually configured that. I just copied it straight over from the iron armour because I understand that's what we wanted to keep it as.
Rather than the stats are right then.
Yeah.
But yeah, based on feedback, we can change them, we can improve them,
Sure,
etc.
yeah, that's always open to change.
Let's change back to an Iron Man mode 1 and get some more armour. Woo. So this is the standard set, if you want talking through that.
Cool, so it kind of seems a bit strange going from the Ultimate down to a version that's not quite so detailed. But hey, you can still see you've got the scythe blade on top just there. You've got a bit of the mask without the tusks, and just the general sort of like overlapping plate sort of armour that you get on the original Ultimate outfit. But it's not going to be as detailed just because we want to give people sort of like a payoff for actually choosing to sacrifice their privileges to sort of be the Ultimate Iron Man instead. So, you know, it's still kind of cool, but it's not going to be as cool as the Ultimate Iron Man outfit, unfortunately. Cool.
All right, well, I guess we could show you what an Iron Man can't do, but that wouldn't be very fun. So should we head back over to the sofa?
Yep.
All right, welcome back.
Yeah, hello. We'll say something.
If you've got any questions about what you've just seen, feel free to get them in, or any other questions relating to anything else, like what our favourite fruit is, or what fruit we see ourselves as. Ash?
I'm just going to address some of the questions that are coming from the stream, actually, just because obviously you couldn't see them, but if I ask it and you answer, that's fine. A lot of people were saying, why did you pick those names? It's clear that we have Adam Boaty, who's a very, very popular Iron Man. He's done an awful lot for on his Iron Man account, so it only seems sort of reasonable to have Adam there, and obviously Paul's done equally as well. It's not to say that we've got a lot of other Iron Man accounts as well. There's plenty of people out there who are doing Iron Man, but we just sort of went with the two most obvious two to start with, and to really sort of demonstrate their commitment to Iron Man, their commitment to sort of bringing Iron Man to light as well. So,
and the amount that chap raised for charity.
Yes, and obviously the amount of work Boaty's done, both humanitarianly and within RuneScape. So,
well, I suppose it's sort of suggests that, you know, we didn't invent Iron Man. We know we didn't, and we want to sort of, you know, recognise that it came from the players, and the way to do that is to pick probably the two most popular ones and put them in game and say thanks guys, and sort of a little homage to them.
mean, there's a few people saying Sinmar, if there was a third NPC, he'd definitely be up
Yeah.
there. It was just one of those things, we only had 2.
Yes, yeah. I mean, if we could stick 200 in there, then we could do everybody. But we have 2, so we had to sort of choose 2. That's where we are.
I'm just going to move on. Did you see any other questions while we were there?
Obviously, you addressed the people who talk about the weight issue. Obviously, again, they told you that the weight it's not fully finished yet. It's still work in progress.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe Gareth copied the original configs from the original Iron Armour and adapted the graphics. Nevertheless, we would certainly have a look at the stats and weight to make sure that they're what we intend them to be before launch.
Yeah.
I think they were still tradable earlier this afternoon.
Somebody mentioned full screen. Who wants to talk about full screen? I bet you ought to, really, hadn't you? From your point of view.
I mean, resizable.
Okay. Well, resizable from an engine perspective, as it was a couple of weeks ago, is finished, minus the couple of things that I'm sure the content guys are going to ask for to make their lives easier when they're setting up more interfaces. It's just that we haven't gone through that process yet. I see it taking a few days, but it has to slot in the schedule.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I think we're looking at it initially from our point of view next week, or the week after? Something
It's
like
a
that,
bit of a tie between that and the trade system.
Yeah, so we need to sort of sit down and look at both and think, which one, effectively. That's a decision we'll hopefully make the next couple of weeks, and then we can see where we go from there. Okay, any more questions?
Yep.
No more questions.
Trading posts. There are people asking.
Yeah.
Again, that just ties in quite nicely to what they said about resizable, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's we can do one, we can do the other. We can do we can focus on getting full screen resizable mode, or we can focus on the trading thing. The actual decision behind that boils down on what is achievable over what period of time. It could be that full screen mode will take 6 months to do, and trading will take a month, or it could be vice versa. We don't know yet. We need to actually look first properly and sort of figure out where we go and how it works. What do we call the process? We call it scoping out the projects. So we need to sit down, figure out what's the right thing to do, and that's something that's still to be done. And when we know that, we will talk a bit more about it at that stage. But like I said, next couple of weeks we'll be making that decision and letting you know.
Certainly once we've got an estimated release date, we'll certainly tell you that.
Absolutely. There's spamming GE.
And they're all saying the trade,
resizable.
so.
We've done that. Trade, noobs,
Straw poll.
Velcro.
We could always do a straw
Simon?
poll.
Straw poll.
Yeah,
Did you have any idea
resizable
what,
trading.
what's
Yeah.
going in it?
No, 6 months is a very
What should
conservative
we work on
estimate. It's
first?
not going to
What
take
should we
that
first? Trading post or resizable?
One would hope.
Might even get a continent around that sort of timescale.
Yes, indeed.
I think we expect both to be delivered before the end of the year, roughly.
That's the expectation.
Yeah, it all depends. It's
I mean,
difficult to put out.
It also depends what else the players would like us to do, because every day they will send us more suggestions for small things that would make a big difference to them in the short term. And if we said, well, we're not going to do any of your little quick wins for months or weeks, that might be a bit disappointing.
Yes, absolutely.
Plus, we've got Halloween to do.
Absolutely.
Oh, did that poll go up?
No, I'll have a poll tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Halloween poll tomorrow. There you go.
Yep.
Death's house. Mansion of death with a computer in the corner we were talking about earlier.
Yes, Death's computer should definitely have a blue screen.
Yes.
I've seen a few people say Mod Macklemore. I'm just trying to work out who they're actually
Referring to Gareth.
pointing out.
It's not too dissimilar, really.
Who's Macklemore?
He's a rap artist.
Is he?
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I don't
that
think-
Macklemore. Of course, yeah.
I don't expect you to know.
Yes, it's from the present. You might
Yeah.
not be aware.
I mean,
He
Ronan
brings
brings
presents.
Ronan
Santa
might not be
Claus.
either, because it's not old enough for Ronan.
If
Yes,
it helps, I'm not aware either.
He's not as cool
Oh,
as the
right.
Beastie
I don't know who
Boys.
that is.
They were actually
To be
saying...
fair, I think you're closer to my age than to...
I am closer to your age,
Yeah.
that's right, let's stick together,
Yeah.
these youngsters.
yeah. We listen to real music,
real
not the
music.
rap with the silent C.
Yeah.
If we were to compare who knows more of my artists as opposed to your artists, I think we'll find there are a lot more in our favour.
It's
I
not
know,
a
but
competition.
The people who know our artists
We
are
would
better
work
looking,
with
so we're
We
fine.
would.
Yeah.
It was Macklemore versus name a sort of an artist you listen to
The Beatles.
daily. You listened to country music the other day. You're like, this is quite good. Listen to it. I'm like, no.
What that
I
was.
remember the time he tried to get you to listen to Allegri's Miserere. Yeah.
Well, that's
didn't go.
an interesting straw poll. Is that 52 to 48?
Wow. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
to
we
make
don't
the
know
right
either then.
decision, yeah.
A lot of people were actually saying, what's your graphics and RuneScape experience?
Well, my graphics experience, well, I've been doing graphics in my spare times for about 4.5 years now. I studied to do it originally. I didn't go to university. I just did a diploma over the internet. and I did really well in that. So I just thought, let's try getting into the games industry. So I applied for Jagex, and I worked on the RS3 HTML5 release originally, and my skill in graphics, because that was a full graphical rework of the game more or less with HTML5, got me a job here as a QA tester. Then over time I sort of like learnt the game and progressed onwards, and yeah, the job came up for graphics in RS3 and they interviewed me and they're happy with my work, and here I am now.
Okay.
Yep.
We regret nothing.
No, it's going to be quite a wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Few months to find out as he creates all this new stuff for you. So
Yeah, you should see some of the artwork that we've got for RuneFest. It's
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how to even go about it. I'm that bad with art.
Yes. Yeah. No, that presentation is going to make a few people very excited very quickly.
Until you get Alyssa and Sigil on a test world.
They are plugged in, so if you are doing corporate RuneFest, you do have a chance of genuinely getting a Sigil drop.
If you get a Sigil at RuneFest, I'll buy you a drink.
But we won't let you keep it for your real account.
Isn't the bar free?
What was it?
It might be.
Unless you're
I
inviting
might not be getting a whole lot done.
It wasn't in 2011.
I don't remember it ever being free, but
Yeah, last year it was free, wasn't it?
I think it's probably free towards the end of the day.
Was it? I'm sure it was free.
But,
But the
That's
bar
right, yeah,
was still
they
stocked
try-
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
drink.
I'm pretty
so-
sure it was. Anyway, that's probably a complete
Anyway.
aside, isn't it? Let's focus on what the players are talking to us about.
They're just saying Mod Macklemore.
There's a few of them speculating about whether we'd use Iron Lady or Iron Woman or what. And Tommy 11133 is correct. It's we've used Iron Woman.
Yes, we did think about Iron Lady, but that sort of reminded people of Margaret Thatcher, didn't it? So,
Well, I did tweet a picture of that Meryl Streep movie poster.
KOC had
It's a movie about Margaret Thatcher called Iron Lady.
KOC had a question about changing the pick up pets option from op 1 to a right click. Sorry, that's from a left click to a right click. Yeah, we can do that. Simple enough to do.
Yeah, in fact, I think I did it in Menageries just because I wanted to.
You did actually, yeah. Left click is interact or talk.
Yeah, when they have it, and if they don't, then there isn't one.
Somebody said, who's that 12-year-old? And it's either Ronan or James. I think it's probably Ronan.
did the person you were
It's Mod
referring
Wolf.
to have a bold haircut?
Yeah.
They must be able to see over there.
His nose isn't on the camera yet.
I should explain to the viewers, there's a guy there with a nose.
Yes.
It's not to AOA tube. There's somebody out there with a nose bigger than him. But yeah, anyway.
Deathstalker hat. There you go, is a question. Deathstalker hat.
That's actually interesting. We've got Gareth has actually modelled at request a hat for the Bounty Hunter store. Now you obviously remember the Wildstalker hat and Deathstalker hat. I've asked for a hat which changes colour and shape depending on if you're a rogue or if you're more a rogue or more of a hunter in Bounty Hunter. You can buy that hat from the store and it will change depending on what's higher, your rogue score, your Bounty Hunter score. It's a nice looking hat. Have you actually finished it, or are you still working on it?
Yeah, I finished the sort of like darker hat. It's kind of, I've gone with two themes here. You could have a puritanical hat that almost looks sort of like very old world witch hunter for those that want to be orderly and sort of go out there sort of doing the right thing, I suppose, in an honourable way. And then there's the misanthropic hat, which is sort of like pointy with a skull on the front and looks very aggressive with lots of spikes around the side. So it's kind of choose which way you want to go to get the sort of hat you want, I suppose.
And that's, I did suggest originally using the Duelist and Wildstalker helmets as a base to see where we end up with that. So hopefully you'll see those very soon.
Yeah, I'd imagine they'll come out with the rest of BH2,
Yes.
which will be in a couple of weeks. Ish.
4-ish.
Think 3.
Someone said, how can I become an old school mascot? Get a worse haircut than that. It would be
It's endless today.
would be my advice.
Give it a rest.
That was brutal.
It doesn't stop throughout the rest of the day
We
either.
have-
You know, it's constant. You know, about
Yeah.
haircuts and bowls and stuff.
We actually have scorecards, mainly for Ash's sneezes. And we constantly rate Ronan on just being Ronan.
We need to print off a minus symbol.
Yeah, -0.
Do you
It's not
need
impossible.
to? Do you need to spend time doing that?
I spent time on the thing you Snapchatted. You even saw me doing it and still helped me generate the assets.
Because I didn't know what you were doing to start.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's love you really, Ronan.
That could be worse, could be skill specs.
Curses and turmoil. New consonants.
Again, we've talked quite a lot about potential new spell books and new prayer books over the course of this year, and we've talked about doing PDC competitions where you'd submit ideas for what you'd like to see. People have suggested things like the Livid Farm spells, without the Livid Farm minigame, of course.
I want the
and-
minigame.
You are the only person that likes it.
You wrote it.
You can make it if you want to do that.
Challenge accepted. Live
We've
with
also,
farm.
but they've come up with an awful lot, and we didn't do the PDC in the end because I don't think there was really much content we could put there, and we'd get an awful lot of suggestions. A lot of them were the same. There's very, very limited things we could do from PDC for a new spellbook and a prayer book. So one of the things I was coming up with was potentially introducing something like that, taking ideas like that, but putting it in the new continent. So at least then we'd have some ground to really introduce a new spellbook. It wouldn't just be some sort of arbitrary introduction through a content that we've currently got in Old School. It'll be newly introduced with the continent and potentially new spells, things that you've decided on based on what feedback you've given us through the year. But it could really be anything. We could go with a limited farm spells. We could come up with something completely new. But we're still talking about doing it inside the new continent, just so we have some fibre really to introduce it with. Hopefully you'll see more of that, both at RuneFest and after RuneFest.
What else we got? Somebody mentioned about having the Ironman armour upgradable, so it doesn't always stay with the stacks of iron.
It's doable.
Certainly is.
As long as it changes its appearance so that if you see somebody in the armour, you've got a sense of whether they're wearing, well, low-end armour or high-end armour.
Yeah.
Well, there's stripes on the head, so we could certainly recolour those to sort of suit the colour of the armour that it's got the stats of, or maybe just put a jewel or something on the chest plate that just signifies it.
As long as you can kind of see it at a glance, like,
Yeah,
I like the
sure.
colour thing slightly better.
Yeah. Well, basing it on your total level maybe, so it upgrades with total levels, rather than having to add items to it. And then that will show off how good of an Iron Man you are, I guess.
Gareth mentioned having like a gem in the middle there. Can you not just tint the whole thing red? Gold stripes, and then just have like a big glowing white bit?
I missed the name on the comment, but someone asked for a Reach v Ghost arm wrestle, and it is kind of traditional.
Is it?
Alfred got one, I had one.
I didn't have one.
It's not traditional, because
Well,
I think
what-
only
what was the point?
two of you have had one, so it's anything but traditional, really.
I wouldn't put money on it.
That's fine.
We haven't really got this. We got really terrible table set up.
Yeah, maybe one day, not today, I
It's
don't
the
think.
tables, isn't it?
Oh, it's tables. Give you an answer if you want.
Trimmed quest cape, he says, diverting the subject a bit there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trimmed to quest cape, something we're going to talk about more at RuneFest again, based around achievement diaries, like you guys wanted it for, didn't you? So we'll talk about a bit more then about that.
It's dripping here again.
Yeah, following on from with the achievement diaries as well, at Christmas we released the final song that's unlockable.
Yes.
Yeah, Django's Little Helpers should become available at Christmas.
Which means, should you guys want it, we could do a cape that represents, well, a music cape that shows that you've unlocked all the
Yeah,
tracks.
it's a very good thing, yeah.
And it's been suggested, I forget where I saw it a few weeks ago, but that if you've got a music cape and a quest cape and or an achievement diary cape, they trim each other in the same way.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The best thing about the music cape is that one did exist at one point.
Yeah, it was 2008.
Somebody found it in the archive, or actually found it in the archive of the cache not too long ago, and actually sent me the video of it. But we do have a quest cape somewhere in an archive.
Yes, I've not managed to find it yet.
It was
No.
2008-ish.
Yeah. It wouldn't be impossible for us to find it again, I don't think. And there are plenty of people out there who have that model saved on their PC that could send it to us in some format, one or another, that we could somehow get hold of.
Better than that, we can see pictures of it and we've got an artist.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
We can always
And,
model a new one if we don't like the one that was already made.
While we're talking about capes, as Martin 2007 has just reminded me, Max Cape is something I'd like to talk about at some point. But again, I think with Jake, Max today was like 27 or number 28. We just can't justify the amount of time it would take to get one done, but I'm sure we'll have one eventually.
Yeah, because it won't be long though. 27 is not bad going.
It isn't.
After 18 months.
A year, the first max was just under a year. It was Jebrin just under a year.
Jebrin was it?
And we've had 26 since then, so it's quite impressive. I think it was 3 on one day, 2 or 3 on one day once. So
I lost so many ranks.
Yeah.
rank 4 to rank.
It must be about 40 now.
Ridiculous.
I've not played in 10 months though. So.
It's true. Just a quick one there. Somebody said, will RuneFest be live streamed?
Yes.
Yes.
That'd be
You got
on
more
holiday.
details on live stream that you guys want to put out?
Main live stream will have like segments of the old school stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to repeat it for the mic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, main live stream will have segments of the old school stuff.
So the main stage and things like
So
that.
the main stage and things like that.
Your meet your maker session
The meet
that
them-
will be on YouTube, and I'll try and put it on the old school channel as well.
Yeah, Meet the Maker session will be on YouTube, and James will try and put it on the old school session page as well. Anything else?
That's it.
What
for
is
Old School
going
Livestream.
on?
There'll also be on the gaming stream.
Yeah.
We'll have sections of co-op on there as well.
Yeah, there's sections of co-op on the gaming stream as well. So lots more news to come out on that, and lots of chance for you to watch.
Well, whenever we're coming up at some point during the stream, I'm sure we'll all tweet about it at
Yeah.
some point. So that seems like a good opportunity to plug Twitter.
Absolutely.
You know his name, but not his story. His name is Modash.
He has no arms. There'll be gifts about that in about 30 seconds' time.
Probably. It's just I cannot do it. I just cannot.
If you hurt yourself doing that, it's going to be
remotely
an
get close to
awesome.
doing
I
it.
tried and dislocated my shoulder. I'm not doing it again.
It's ridiculous.
I was checking Reddit just as the BRB screen was up, and people have already posted pictures of James with a pillow on his lap.
It's convenient pillow placement. You got to think about these things before you start a live stream.
Yes.
If you say so. Well, we're not going to get a
It
question
was
for
either
the
that
next
or
5
really
minutes.
tight trousers, and that's more Mod Wolf style.
I can sit like Jack Mob.
There'll be memes later.
Why can't I watch this?
I need a MacBook.
Right, yes, I'm looking for questions there.
I'm trying to find some actually.
Not very many.
We got Stealing Creation and Soul Wars there. Actually, that's probably quite an interesting one because that comes up an awful lot.
So, the Corp has taken us a while to convert the model for it, and that's like one model. A minigame might have some 100 models for its scenery and all its ingredients and stuff, and that's quite a lot of work to even get it looking like a cheap rip-off of the thing you knew and loved in the first place. So recreating I have strange colleagues. So recreating a minigame that everyone's seen before, it won't look the same and it takes a very long time. So in terms of dev work for your appreciation, it's not always the best way of spending the time. We don't mind writing a new minigame or writing a minigame based on one you've seen before, like when people said they like something like Dominion Tower so they can replay the old boss fights. We didn't give them something like Dominion Tower, but it's got the same theme to it. It just doesn't try to pretend it's the same. And we can do that for Stealing Creation and Soul Wars if that's how people would most like us to spend the time. We are somewhat rammed with big projects just at the moment, what with Halloween, Trade System, Resizable, where even you guys don't seem to know which order they should be done in. So again, it might be a little while before we can turn our attention to a minigame.
Yes.
But it is something we're up for, because Lord knows we can't just sit around doing this all the time.
We also have to consider the impact of that minigame as well. With Stealing Creation, it provides double XP. There's a genuine sort of concern amongst our game that our game should remain, there should be a grind, it should be difficult, and we don't like accelerating XP beyond anything like it is currently. So having Stealing Creation in game where you can quite easily farm double token or points to convert to double XP isn't really in the sort of ethos of Old School. Soul Wars we can probably do because it's not really much from Soul Wars besides buying Slayer XP really and combat XP. That's too damaging, but then Soul Wars is a very, very big minigame, and as Ash said, converting all those models from RS3 would take an awful long time. We'd much rather write our own minigame.
I can't feel my toes.
Yeah, I'm surprised
I
how
can't either, to be fair.
I'm surprised how well spoken you were there, considering what's going on around you.
I put up with this all the time, but
Help me up. I'm serious.
really?
Yes. Oh, so I'm good.
Somebody asked a question, I forgot what it was. Yes, that was it. They want to know, they want to be told when they've poisoned somebody, their opponent.
I expect it could be done. Yeah, I expect we could find a way of making that happen.
I did see a question while I was a foot lower. I've forgotten what it was. Aberdeen boss. Yeah, there was a couple asking for it. What's the Ringfest live stream? There'll be some information there for you.
And a picture.
Yes.
A HD picture.
Any more questions we've got coming through? We've got a couple of minutes, so let's see what we can find. Double XP weekend. If you guys want a double XP weekend, we'll do one, but we'll probably think that you don't. But if you do, fine. It's not a problem. We can do that. But yeah, don't expect it to happen, is all I can say. New chinning areas.
That's on your list for content, isn't it?
I think so. Obviously, we have the ape, toll, zombie, monkeys. We also have the occasional goblin raid, or occasional yearly goblin raid where people throw chins at goblins.
Yeah.
Any other areas that are popular for chinning other than Nightmare Zone?
I had a request earlier today on Twitter from someone who suggested that we take the no cannon areas of Neve's dungeon, the bits where you aren't allowed to set up a cannon, and make them multi-way so that you can chin in them better.
I'm not against that idea.
Nothing in
Yeah.
those areas is aggressive.
We'd have to do something about the shape of the rooms, I think, because multi-way we can only paint down in blocks, but it might be possible if we weren't too fussed about the exact shape of it.
I mean, it's quite important to people that they have new areas for training, and all the world's usually taken with people at Zombie Monkeys, so having new areas for chinning doesn't impact at all, and it gives some diversity and some change of scenery, really. But we can definitely explore that. I'd like to.
I missed the name. Is it Living Mouse? Yeah. Ask for HD update. We did ask Alfie quietly to do it quickly before he left, but sadly it would have taken him about 150 years.
So by tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, sure. We'll get it sorted.
Yeah, no, on a serious note though, it's probably the one update we could probably never offer you to completely redesign every single aspect of the game world. It's a task we can't take on.
As I recall, we outsourced some of the modelling work to external companies even back in the day, because Jagex, when it put its entire graphics team on it, still couldn't do that much work.
Somebody as well actually just said a question that I've already forgotten. That's very helpful.
Somebody asked about non-combat prayers, which is a nice idea.
Prayers that boost. Again, that's a new prayer book idea, really.
Exactly.
If we go something like that.
You do
I
quite
still
good.
can't remember the idea of the question that came up.
If you've got ideas about a new prayer book and non-combat prayers, stick it on the forums. We'd love to read it, definitely.
Half XP weekend?
Yeah, half XP, yeah, we will certainly do that. Maybe we ought to do a poll. Straw poll,
Half
please,
XP
Simon
weekend.
and James.
That was actually.
Double XP weekend or half XP weekend?
It's Co-op Slayer. I think you were talking about that at RuneFest.
Yes, talk about that at RuneFest as well, yeah.
So for the Slayer update that you voted second, was it second?
Third, I
Third,
think.
might be
Yeah.
third most sort of desired piece of content from the priority poll. There's a talk at RuneFest by Bash and Matt about the Slayer update that you've asked for and what we're proposing to do for it.
Absolutely.
Because we polled Cooperative Slayer before, didn't pass, but we could try and do something similar to it to help people go slay with a friend, even if it wasn't the same as what didn't pass the poll.
Right, so there we go. We've got a link to a straw poll. Vote in it.
We'll come back to you in a minute.
Can you do a Sinister Keys update?
Sinister Key opens the chest with the herbs, right?
That's right.
But they're actually quite rewarding given the current herb prices. But if you let us know what you want changed or improved, etc., then we can have a look. Certainly, it's easy enough to do.
Somebody just said...
Actually, I think I've just remembered, someone asked a couple of months ago that it gives you noted herbs rather than unnoted.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, we can do that. That might be what they're asking for.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned the server disconnections on World 18. We'll address that now. We've got some new software that went in earlier this week, so we're monitoring that. We put the death changes in last week, didn't we?
Yes.
So we're going to keep them going for the time being. But things are happening, and hopefully it's sorted out. We haven't seen anything for the last couple of days, but we'll keep watching it and we'll see what happens, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, the sysadmin team have been working around the clock for the last 2 weeks or so to get that in. So
Yes,
thanks to them.
absolutely, yeah. In fact, they even brought it forward specifically to address the issues in the Bounty Hunter world. So
Right, half
thanks
XP
to them,
weekend it
guys.
is?
Half XP, what have we got? 30, 50, I can't read it from here, it's too small.
96. 46.
46, there we go. 46% half XP weekend.
It would be pretty interesting to see what kind of effect that would have in the game.
Just do quests.
Just slow it down massively.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
the Pures will be out, won't they? I'll tell you one thing, when we're talking about Bounty Hunter, one thing that somebody mentioned, not Bounty Hunter, Ironman, so that somebody mentioned, we didn't even think about what we're doing, is because you don't get PvP XP, it's the ideal sort of account for a low-level pure when you want to keep the levels low and do that, which I thought was quite a cool way of looking at
Yeah,
it.
you can actually you can PK with the whip on Lash and not worry about getting defense
Absolutely,
XP.
and new accounts get their 2 weeks free in the trial, so they'll be able to give it a go. And
Not with the whip, they won't.
oh, not with the whip, no. But yeah, no, it's an interesting way of looking at it, I thought, which was quite cool.
Mac Daddy done some numbers. Asked, will the Corp have a pet? I think you plugged in the Dark Core.
I haven't plugged in the Dark Core or made it properly yet, but we are planning to do a Dark Core pet. We decided against the Corp because that's just a huge boss scaled down. Doesn't look very good, and it's not very unique. We've got so many boss pets in the game at the moment that it's quite nice to have something that's very dissimilar, such as the core. It's a nice little touch, and it'll hop around behind you quite nicely. That's what we're going to go with. Hopefully we'll have that in very soon.
I think if we ever do a Jad pet as well, we'd have to go down the baby Jad route rather than just scaling that one down.
Yeah.
Because some of them are just too big to scale down. It just looks like a beige mess.
Yeah, his
So it's
size is
not
like
worth
9 or 12.
He's very big.
And for Icy Giant, who's asking when the corp could be expected, it'll be
16th.
Yeah.
2 weeks
after
today.
Runefest.
Yes. Assuming that there's no massive feedback from the guys
Yeah.
at Runefest playing with it
Yeah.
before we put it in.
Yeah,
Assuming that all goes smoothly.
because if we're going to show it off at Runefest and people actually have ideas about how it could be improved, then we'd like some time to do something about that.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's scheduled for the 16th of October.
That's 2 weeks today.
Yes.
Wow.
So if you're not prepared and you haven't got the correct attack or defense level to use stab on your Zamorak spear, you have 2 weeks to get it up and do it properly.
And should they know, is there going to be any requirement on teleporting to the cave?
There's no requirement, anybody can go there, as long as you get hold of a games necklace or you are willing to run there. You might as well let anybody in. If level 40 accounts want to go in there and die over and over again, they're more than welcome to. They're not going to get anything out of doing so. If 200 of them turn up and they kill the beast, good luck, well done, good luck on the drop. But no requirements, anybody can attend the corp, only the best are going to be able to kill it.
Yeah. I think we've run out of time, haven't we?
Yes.
So we'll say good night. See you next week. New poll tomorrow, so vote in that.
Yep.
Halloween, because we want like Halloween. Anything else we want to plug?
Oh, check out the the month aheads. Forum thread tells you what's coming this month. If the stream didn't tell you everything.
We need to get you a Twitter account, mate.
We do, yes.
Yeah, we'll sort it out tomorrow. So we need a Twitter account for Gareth here. So you all have to follow him tomorrow.
And then you
Should've
can
done
see
that before
previews of all
today,
the art he's working on.
Yeah.
Yep.
We should have done that before this, shouldn't we? Really, never mind. That's about it, I think. So we'll see you all next week. Ta-ra.
Bye.
Bye.